Thanks a lot for coming, guys. My name is Steven Neary. I'm a story artist and animator. I make cartoons, I guess. Is anybody here working in animation at all? Or we got one, two? Okay. All right. That's cool. That's good. I'm just going to kind of talk about what I do for a living and then what I do for fun and how those relate with each other. Do you guys know what story artists do at all? Or? Yeah, so for the past 4 years, I've been working at this place called Blue Sky Studios, and pretty much it's a big studio. We make the Ice Age movies. I worked on Ice Age 3 and Rio and Ice Age 4 and some other projects, Leaf Men, and now I'm working on Rio 2. So lots of sequels. And pretty much what we do is we have this script that we're given by the directors, and we have to draw everything before it happens. Everything that's animated takes millions of dollars to animate. It takes like $1 million a minute with a whole studio going. So we're kind of this, this testing ground to try everything out before that expensive process is done. So really, I'm just going to show you guys some storyboards today. And then show kind of how I work through the process and then some of my personal work too.
Does it really take $1 million a minute?
Yeah, it is sadly about that much money, which it's a lot of money.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't make $1 million a minute, but
I like the name of your folder.
oh, thank you. Let me just pitch something to you guys, and then. So this was like some monkey exploration. Did you guys see Rio at all? It's
yeah.
Okay if you didn't. All right, it's about talking birds, and they live in Rio, pretty much. And one day we got this note from the executives, and they were like, "Put monkeys in the movie." And
how are there monkeys in it?
somebody, there were a lot of bird characters in the movie. We need monkey characters to balance it out. So these are real. Working. I don't know if I'm an artist, I draw pictures, but working in a commercial field, those are just things, those are notes you get, and you have to figure out creative solutions to these problems. Like, yes, if there are going to be monkeys in the movie, how can we make them the best monkeys that we can make? So I might get an assignment like figure out how we can put monkeys in the movie, and I have a week to sort of come up with something like that. So we'll pitch that now. Oh man, messed this up. Sorry. I think, do I like select all of these?
Yeah, you select all of them and yeah.
Cool. So pretty much what I do is I sit in a room like this with a computer and I pitch my drawings. This is Nigel, he's the bad guy, he's flying in, he has this paper bag, and there's this old cement truck in the jungle. He just lands on this stump. He's looking at the cement truck. He steps off the bag. A little scared, you see his eyes pop up. And then there's this crazy rabid monkey that just sort of sweeps out. Nigel's not even scared. There's this little monkey sitting there. He's smelling the bag. He starts like scratching his butt. And Nigel's kind of disgusted. He's like, oh. Hey! And he's like, yeah. He pushes the bag toward him. So we have this idea that the monkeys don't really talk. They're kind of nonverbal. He just rips the bag open. And there's just this shoe in there. And he's like, It's like, you'll get the other shoe when you finish the job. So he's like, okay, and then he gets the shoe on, and he's like, ooh, 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 ooh. He starts talking, ooh, ooh, and there are subtitles. Arise, my monkey brethren, my brothers in evil. Today we are summoned. The reward for our misdeeds will be glorious footwear. Ah, ha, ha, ha. And we see all these monkeys in the cement truck in the dark just popping out. And they come out and they make this like terrible monkey Voltron. That would be like the size of a normal person. So yeah, that's a week for me.
Yeah.
So from there, like you're just pitching this basically to a room like you guys. There's probably like 10 other story artists. There's the director in there, the producers, the editors, and you just talk about it and you just rip it all apart. Like I think the notes on a sequence like this were like, yeah, that shoe thing is funny, but that's really weird. Like we can't do that. That's too weird. Or you'll get, you know, technology notes like we can't have a Voltron made of monkeys because like that's too complicated for the computers to use. So you take all these notes, and they're practical notes. They're notes about taste. They're notes about story, and then you just have another week to do a new scene. So I'll show you guys another take on this. That sort of incorporates some of those elements, but then takes it in a different direction.
Were those the notes you were actually given for what we're looking at?
More or less. So it was sort of, you know, take this in another direction. We like the idea of there being like a secluded spot in the woods. Maybe it's not a cement truck. Maybe it's an abandoned hotel. Maybe the monkeys, like they like to collect things. Maybe they're shiny things. So see if you can do that and come up with something. So this is like an abandoned hotel in the woods that Nigel is flying through. He flies through this, past this old dead bellhop, and there's just this living room. This isn't my computer, but it's good advice.
Yeah. Tell me about
That's
it.
awesome.
I need reminders too.
Yeah,
Monetization,
Yeah.
people, monetization.
exactly.
Talk about apropos.
So he flies in, and there's all this like shiny stuff on the table. There's toasters and shoes, and he's got this like there's golf clubs, trophies. He's got this shiny medallion thing that he uses to like to signal the monkeys, and we see all these glowing eyes pop up. And he's like, wow, cool. All these monkeys are just crawling all over the place, and they're going down, coming out of the woodwork, crawling on spider webs. And they kind of swarm him, and they're getting a little like evil. The guy's like licking the metal, and he's like, that's disgusting. Psh, and he smacks him. He starts like growling at everybody, kind of getting more space. Maybe he can like speak their language, so he's just talking like a monkey now, and they make way for the king. And these monkeys are singing, and it's just this king, and he's like decked out. And he holds up the medallion, and he's like, he starts. He's just out of breath. And he just falls down, and he snaps his fingers, and these guys come over and lift him up. And they're just kind of carrying him. You know, he reaches for it, he can't quite reach, and they help him grab it. And he bites it, he checks it, it's good. He just holds out the blue feather. He wants him to find the blue macaws, and he's like, ooh, 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 ha, 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 ha. So we have this kind of completely nonverbal scene. So that was another take. So yeah, from there it just kind of keeps evolving. Like, oh, we like the idea of it being, you know, there are going to be like countless drafts of this going on. I'm going to show you guys one more just so you can really get the idea of how tedious it gets. And so from there they say, okay, we like the idea of a secluded spot in the woods. We like them collecting shiny stuff. Let's see like how far you can take that in another setting. So we have this monkey here. You know, we're collaborating. These are another person's storyboards. They're taking pictures, and then we see them stealing watches and stuff. They're running away, and then Nigel swoops in. He's like, "Oh no, it's Batman! I just found this. It's not mine." And Nigel starts laughing. And he gets nervous. He's kind of laughing too. Sure, it's hot in here. Must be all these feathers. And he opens up his chest, and he has like the necklace on, and he's like, wow! And he jumps for it, and he just punches him. Take me to Eduardo. Follow me! And he hops off across the woods. And they're going through the jungle. And now this time, instead of a hotel, it's like an abandoned porta potty. He swoops in. He's looking at all these monkeys. They have jewels. Light on his head. And he's like, I seek an audience. This monkey's up here, and he just knocks on the porta potty. Just a moment, please. And we see that. Oh, there's all these jewels. So it's kind of the same idea as before, just in a porta potty. Wow. And we see, you know, the same idea as before. It's just a little different. Who disturbs my throne? 2 blue birds. I need you to find them. I would love to help, but I don't care. And he holds up the medallion, you know, so this is kind of the same as before. He's like, pretty. And we have the same beat of him being tired. Ah! And then he asks for it. So, you know, from here it's kind of the same as before. He puts it on, just a different setting. So, you know, you're just working on ideas like these for months at a time. And pretty much what it teaches you is nothing is precious. Like, you're always going to be throwing out your ideas. You're always going to be coming up with new ones. In the end, I worked on this sequence for about 6 weeks, or 6 months, and all of the work that I did was cut. Which is okay, you know, it's a job and that's what you're paid to do. But, you know, what's great in my personal work is it teaches me to very much, you know, nothing is sacred, work on your feet. As a result, I ended up making this film called Dr. Breakfast on the Train, and just really embracing like every random idea I had. I work so much where my work is cut on a daily basis, like what would happen if I just embraced every random thought that I had in my head, which I think is what you guys are going to see tonight at the concert. I will show you this, oh, I think I have it on here. I will show you this making of video, maybe later. 1 second. Does anybody have any questions about this so far?
Yeah, I think what's fascinating is that you actually have quite a huge editorial power. Like I didn't imagine people who were doing animation that could actually modify the story, come up with ideas that won't really impact the story.
Right.
I get the feeling that there is just like a very thin outline of the story, but you bring so much more to the table.
Yeah, I mean it's different on every production, and it's different for every director as well. But you know, like Scrat, those sequences where the squirrel is getting the acorn, those are all story artists. There's no, you can't really write that. You know, if you wrote it, it would be, you know, he gets the acorn, he loses the acorn again, he gets the acorn. So yeah, there is a lot of that. There's a lot of collaboration as well. Man, I'm trying to see if I have that video. But you know, you'll get pages from the writer, you'll get a script, you'll change the script, it'll go back to the writer, they'll change what they're writing, and it pretty much just goes on until the production runs out of money and time. Otherwise, we would be working on it forever. So yeah, I mean, it definitely, it really is good for just making sure that you're, when you're doing your personal work, you're very decisive about it. You want to do kind of the opposite thing.
So do you feel like you're really sort of surrendering yourself to that process of, versus like trying to really listen to the feedback and figure out how to give them what they want? Because I mean, it sounds like you're saying that doesn't necessarily work. Like that is the process. It's that many different iterations and.
Well, I mean, it's very different. There's like a little bit of showmanship to it. You know, if you have an idea in the room and you just bring it up as an idea, maybe it's not going to go over as well if you don't have a very pretty drawing to sell it, or the timing of like, when are you bringing up this story point?
Like how many drafts in are you bringing it up?
Right. You know, this point where I pitched like the jewelry idea, they said, well, we're too late in production. We can't have the monkeys wearing jewelry because it'll conflict with fur. You know, and that's stuff you can't even begin to think about as a story artist. You don't want to restrict what you're doing based on technology. So it is all kind of, there's not a lot of controlling it, I guess. You just have to kind of stand your feet.
You surrender to that.
Yeah. And you know, it's fun. You're drawing so much that you're always getting better at drawing too, just through repetition. So that's something I'm really grateful for. I guess I don't have that video available, sorry. But yeah, just I guess you guys will see tonight, Dr. Breakfast, just what kind of happens when I let my mind go. It might be scary. But here's another example of a pitch for Ice Age. This is an example, again, of where you will just have an idea, and it's your job to come up with the entire idea. The idea was, at the end of Ice Age 4, Scrat goes to like Scratlantis. Like, what is it like there? How does that play? He has such a strong character that you have to kind of guess and create this world based on what he would act like. So yeah, I'll just pitch that. It's the end of the movie. He's out in the ocean. He's adrift at sea. And what would his like ultimate fantasy be? He sees, wow. And there's this like super advanced Scrat there. Bless you, gravity, for I've just thought of a way to cure cancer. And he washes up on shore, and he sees like his more evolved self, and they just touch hands, and you realize like he has an opposable friend. Scrat doesn't. He's like, fascinating. Welcome home, lost child, to the atrium. And he's like, and he fires up this Leonardo da Vinci machine, and they're just going, welcome to Scratlantis. Here you will not be hungry. Here you will not feel pain. Here you will not be alone. And he's just, here we could fit in all these gags of Scratlantis, all this acorn stuff, walking around. They're creating like art based on nuts. He's just, wow. He starts to go a little crazy, and he just freaks out. He gets out of the helicopter, and he starts breaking open these pots. There's an art museum, and he's like ripping things off the walls. He's ripping up paintings. He's stealing this acorn, and the lady's like, oh! And these guys are playing basketball. And he just like swoops in, and he's like, no. This guy's like at a vending machine. He's selecting his acorns. He takes it, and Scrat is, he's like scratching at the vending machine. Trust me, it's awesome. And then he just breaks it open and he steals all the nuts. So chaos continues, and we have finally this one golden nut left that he's swooping for, he's running for it. Brother, no! Woo! He's running. Wait! Put down the nut, brother. I know how you feel. Grr. I know because I was once like you. But love. Love saved me. Nuts are only objects. But with love, we built this paradise. Now is the time to put down that nut and embrace your heart. My brother, take your hands in mine. And he's like, no, I don't think so. And he just turns and he pulls out this nut. I think there are a couple panels missing here, but it basically sinks the whole lot. So he's messed up everything. Brother, over here. He's drowning, he swims over, and they have like this lifeboat. And he, brother, be careful, take care. And he pops the lifeboat, and everybody instantly like devolves back into Scrats. And yeah, and that would be the end of the movie. Yeah, you just, oh, here are more boards, I think, where he like,
He opened the
anyway, so yeah, you'll pitch something like that, and it's always this dance where like, I really want to push the movie in this direction. I want to push it towards like weird and just kind of oddball, and then you get people pushing back, like this needs to be like commercially viable, and we need to, you know, we don't have a lot of time for this. So, you know, it's always this dance, and the great part about, you know, having a steady job is you're always working on craft, and then you can apply those skills towards the personal work that you want to do just for fun. And you know, it's cool too, because as a result, like the short I made getting into Sundance, they said, you know, the executives at Fox had this short in development. Basically they said, well, why don't you just make a short for us, you know, and we'll give you some time, we'll put it on YouTube or whatever. So, you know, those things you do for fun, you know, eventually will hopefully turn into the things that you do for a living. And that's kind of my goal, is sort of making that happen. But in the meantime, it's great to have it's great to have a day job. You gotta pay the bills.
Yeah, just kill it.
Are your bills okay?
I think I had 2 different ones, and they both got delayed to the same point.
Yeah. I think I have 30 seconds left for questions. Anyone has any more questions?
Who are your mentors?
My mentors just really the people I work with are some of the most amazing artists. And sometimes it's almost painful that they're like working for people and not just on their own because they're so talented. So yeah, just other story artists in the business are really amazing people. It's great to have a community. Yeah, they're a big help. Other than that, I just like, looking at artists, other writers, other people like working independently. I love even, authors like Kurt Vonnegut that are very much about having a story but also using humor to pepper in different new ideas, drawing pictures, incorporating that in with their work. Yeah, it's a big inspiration for me. I think, yeah.
So how do you feel about like working at a day job, doing this kind of work, and then doing the same kind of work for yourself? How do you feel about the constraints that are placed upon you? And I don't mean in a negative sense, obviously. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's all about constraints. But how do you feel about the constraints that are placed upon you with the data as opposed to any constraints that you self-impose on yourself when you're doing your own stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I'll show you a little bit of this, of this clip here, but when I do my personal work, it's very much, I don't work with 400 people, I don't have like an endless supply of money to kind of spend on my shorts. It's just kind of me and a 4-year-old laptop. So how can I, this is kind of what it looks like, how can I take that same like thought and the zaniness, but apply it to something more economical?
Sure.
And in a way, it's really liberating because you're not thinking like, oh, I have to justify the amount of money that I'm spending on this. It can just be something fun and crazy that you do, very quickly. And I think that even because the production values aren't as high, people don't scrutinize it as much. It's just kind of more for fun. It's sort of like when you see shows on Adult Swim that are very crudely drawn. There's like a charm to that that's not really sometimes there in like a really full-blown production. So that's kind of how I deal with it. But then how do you make a living just doing this? I'm not really sure.
That's
yeah.
interesting what you're saying about like high production value is scrutinized more highly. We were talking at our Travis recently in a tech roundup about the developers that work for Amazon because they're working at such a high volume, they can't actually take risks with the design of the site. If you change where the click now button is, in like a matter of seconds, they're losing maybe millions of dollars. So they actually are very stifled by that, in terms of being able to push forward innovation and design as developers working on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that animation has become so mainstream, but in a way it kind of holds it back at the same time. Ice Age 4 made $840 million, and that doesn't all go to me. And people say, why is there an Ice Age 4? Well, because Ice Age 3 made $900 million, So people want to see more creative stories, but at the same time, they don't really. There are people arguing that television is more innovative than film right now, because like the budgets are smaller and people can take more risks and people can play out a narrative over an entire season rather than one $100 million 90-minute film. I think that's really interesting. I think hopefully we're going to see the rise of like the $10 million animated movie, or people are going to get sort of used to seeing this style of animation like on a larger scale. That's what I hope is going to happen, and then we'll see kind of people will realize that animation isn't a genre necessarily, it's kind of a medium, and there can be different genres within that medium. So it's just kind of getting the public used to seeing animation all the time, which I think is happening more.
It can be crowdfunded too. That would be a way of like getting out from underneath only the big movie houses. I mean, putting something up on Indiegogo or Kickstarter, there are $1 to $10 million video games that are being funded. I have to imagine that animations could also be funded in the same mechanism.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. I mean, Charlie Kaufman, I think, just wrote a script that's going to be turned into like a 40-minute short or something.
An animated short?
Yeah, I think the studio out west, they do like moral oral, I forget what they're called, they're doing it. So we're definitely gonna see that, it's only gonna happen more, I hope. So, yeah. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.